Okay, we're going to start something a little more complicated, but it's still kind of just a fictional thing. And then we'll move on to making real things. But I just want to get you some more basic understanding of how this works, give you a little more practice before we make real things that are more complicated. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a 60 by 60 millimeter square that just starts at the origin here. So as always, we're going to start our project by sketching. So I'm going to click Create Sketch. I want to sketch on the ground. Again, eventually I'll explain why you would sketch vertically, eventually. So I'm going to click on the ground plane, and it's going to flip over because I'm in sketching mode. I can just type in R, or I can click on the 2-point rectangle, or I can choose it from the menu if I like extra clicks. So I'm going to type in R. I'm going to find that origin. My box turns green. And I'm going to click and hold my mouse button down and just drag any size I want. Don't worry about it being 60 by 60. As soon as I let go, I'm going to type in 60. I'm going to hit Tab. I'm going to type in 60, and I'll hit Enter, and I've got my square. Okay, so that's my square. And then let's just say I need to show this to my boss. So I click Finish Sketch, and my boss says, "Oh, you've got a whole bunch of other stuff I need you to do in here. Sorry, I forgot to tell you." So just trying to get you in and out of that timeline again, because it's so important. So once I hit Finish Sketch, if I want to sketch into this, add more detail to this sketch, I can just go here and right click and choose Edit Sketch, or just double click, and it'll bring me back into my sketch. So just for fun, just wanted to do that. And now what I want to do is I want to split this in half with a line. So I'm going to go create, and notice a line is L. So I'm going to type in L or go create line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to draw a line, and I want to find the middle of this rectangle. So along these lines, it shows me I'm an edge. Here I'm not at an edge. It gives you a special symbol when you're at an intersection of the graph paper, but it's still a black cross. When I'm on the edge, it becomes a blue X, which gets a square around it when I'm on a intersection of the graph paper. And eventually, when I get to the middle, it shows me that triangle. So I'm going to click when I get to the middle and I've got that point selected. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag down. And I'm going to hold my, and notice it sort of locks to where I want to be. So I'm just going to drag down. And again, it's showing me when I'm at the right place, right? So here I don't have an X yet. It's not making a connection. So here when I get a blue X, it's showing me I'm actually connecting to the other line. So if you don't connect to the other line, then it's just a line floating in space. It's not going to divide the rectangle into two sections. It's just going to consider it to be a line dividing into space. So you need to make sure your endpoints are actually touching the sides. Even if they're a pixel off, that will not divide the space. It'll just be a imaginary line that just seems to just float there and doesn't really help you in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so now you have two separate regions. If you did it the way I did it, it's showing these little triangles to show you that you did it right. And you're ready to make a third region, which I'm going to find the center here. Okay, and I'm going to notice I'm still in line mode. Again, it's streamlined. This can be confusing because now if you click and mouse somewhere you don't want to be, it's going to start drawing lines. But it's really convenient if you're sketching that it thinks you're going to keep doing the same thing you've been doing. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to drag out just to this third square down in my graph paper. So kind of in the middle. It should say 20, it's fine. If you're up here, it's not that big of a difference as long as you're connecting to the other end, because this is just sort of a fun little fictional thing we're making. It's not that big a difference. But again, make sure you're at an endpoint with that blue X telling you you're an endpoint, and go ahead and click, and you've made another line. So you're making more and more sketch stuff. which we're going to end up pulling up into three-dimensional objects. But we have one more thing we want to do. So we don't want to make another line. We need to choose another sketching tool. So we are going to choose the center diameter circle. You could type in C now, or you could just click on the button there. And we're going to find that same center point where we just were for the line, and we're going to click and drag a circle, and we want to make this 20 millimeters. So I'm just going to type in 20 and hit enter, and now I've got a 20 millimeter circle. So now I've done exactly what my boss asked me to sketch, and I'm done sketching, and now we're going to turn all of that into a variety of three-dimensional objects. So just go ahead and click Finish Sketch, and this will help us learn how to work with a complicated sketch like this before we're actually doing something real. So now what I want to do is I want to modify and push-pull to pull up some of these things. So I want to take this guy first. Okay, so it's waiting for me to select, and I'm going to pull this guy up 20 millimeters. Okay, you don't even need to start the arrow, just type in 20. Okay, and then go ahead and click OK. And now you're going to notice that that when you click OK and you're done push pulling, for some, this is one of these weird streamline things. Sketches get in the way when you're done making three-dimensional objects. They make things look too complicated. So your sketch will disappear, but you still need to work on it. We're not done with it yet. And I did this on purpose so you could see this pitfall. If you click OK and you push pull from a sketch, it makes the sketch disappear. So this is the first time you start needing to use these menus over here. Your sketches are all kept in here where it says sketches. And if you click the little triangle next to it, it will show you all the sketches you made. We only made one. And it will also show you that, see where the little eyeball is next to there? That is showing you that it's invisible. So you want to click on that to bring your sketch back. So again, I did this on purpose just so you could see this pitfall, that if you click OK and you're done push pulling from a sketch, it will make it disappear, but it's always here. This is called the browser. It's always here on the browser. You can make things reappear or disappear on your browser. Okay, so I want to do some more push pulling. I'm going to modify push pull, and I'm going to click on this guy, and I'm going to drag him up 19. So he's 1 millimeter less than the other. And now what I want to do is I can barely see the third one, so I'm going to right click and orbit. You could use the view cube so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to Q and push pull. I'm going to click on this guy and move him up 18. Okay, so now you should have this little stair step pattern here. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to move this entire part up, entire cylinder up 25. And again, I'm doing this so you can see how different things work in Fusion. So there's a method to my madness. So under Modify, choose Push Pull. And now what I want to do is I want to push pull all three of these. But notice, if I select this one, the blue selection box is still blue, which is telling me I can continue to select. You don't need to shift click or anything. As long as you keep clicking while this guy is blue, it will actually let you select multiple objects. If you're all push pulling them all the same height, you can do it all at once. So you don't need to push pull this piece of the cylinder up 25, and then this piece of the cylinder up 25, and this piece of the cylinder up 25. It's waiting. If you want to select multiple objects, you can. And then I want this to go up 25, so I'm just going to type in 25. And now you should have something that looks like this. And now you can see why it makes the sketch disappear. See how the sketch makes it look all kind of weird? You can barely see what's going on. So now I am going to by hand make the sketch disappear. And now you can really see the object in all its beauty and amazingness. All right, so now we've got this beautiful, amazing object. And if you wanted to change any of these extrusions, your boss says, no, I want this one actually to be only 15. You can go over in your timeline and find the one that he pointed at or she pointed at, and right click and say edit feature. and just change it to 15. So I want you to again see how awesome that timeline is. You can go in and change any of the steps you wanted. You could even go back to your sketch and change the way you drew the original lines. Okay, so that's the sketch light bulb thing, which is so important, pitfall you can fall into. How to extrude multiple things at once by just selecting multiple objects. And also, last but not least, how to go back in your timeline and make changes when your boss tells you that she wants you to do something different. Okay. Okay, so the next step we want to do is save our work. It creates an untitled file. It'll keep it untitled, but we don't want to always leave everything untitled. So we want to save our work with a name. So our boss knows what we've done for them. So under the File menu, choose the Save command. And this will bring up a dialog box. And I'd like you to call this your last name and then walk through. Okay. And I'm not sure what the default, I think it's just called My First Project, your default project, and you can just leave it My First Project for now. Don't go digging for other projects. I'll explain how to create new projects, which are series of files, but for now, My First Project's perfectly fine, or whatever that says. So click Save. And then now you will see in your waffle, there's a little your last name walkthrough. It might take depending on your Wi-Fi and your computer, it might take a moment or two to update that. And then you'll also notice it's called V1 right now. As you open and close projects, it creates new versions of them. So you can always, if you do something just heinous that you can't even undo, you can always walk back to where you were working the previous day, and it's not a complete disaster for you. So that is saving and viewing. And if you close this up, and for some reason you wanted to reopen it, you would just double click on it over here. And they call this the data panel. I'll call it the waffle usually, and you can get back to work on your project. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Your next video, we will move on to the key and have a lot more fun.